up, guys? It's Abigail here from Airwaves, and I am hanging out here in Nashville with Liddy Clark. How are you doing today, Liddy?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. It's CMA week, so it's a little crazy.
It's insane.
How excited are you to be here for this week?
I am so excited to be here for this week. It's always the craziest, most busy week of the year, but it's always just so exciting, and so many wonderful concerts are happening around town. I can't wait.
What are you most excited about this week?
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited to go into fanfare just because there are so many different stages in there and so many different artists performing. Wow.
So you have a new music video coming out for Holding Your Hand soon. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so some of my closest friends at USC are in the film school, and so I kind of came up with the idea for them to, maybe collaborate on a music video with me. And they were like, yeah, of course. And so we got together, she came up with the treatment, and we got to, film this together. And working with some of my closest friends is so exciting because they do know all the parts of me and all the vulnerabilities, and so just the treatment was really cool. It's a little bit different than the narrative of the song, but it makes complete sense if you think about it. It's a very narrative-driven video, and so I'm really excited. There are a few different actors and younger versions of Liddy. I wrote this song a few years ago with a co-writer friend of mine, and I think we just kind of came up with the concept of holding her hand. It was, the alliteration of that. And so we built the song around the chorus, and we just kind of talked about, our different experiences of, unrequited love and how that feels.
So much fun, right?
So much fun, just the best of times. And so we wanted that to reflect, both in the melody and the lyrics of the song. And that's what we came up with, holding her hand.
So what do you hope that people will take away from this video when they see it?
I hope that people would take away that even though you might feel a certain way towards someone, or you have a certain situation that you wish with all of your heart that you could change, sometimes there are just things you can't control necessarily, and that you just kind of have to learn to adjust to and, move on, and you can be happy without, having that one particular thing that you think you have to have.
Life goes on, right?
Life goes on. Yeah, that's the message. And there's an acoustic EP for Testing the Waters coming out on June 14th, which is really exciting. It's not new songs, but they're reinterpreted in a new way. So,
why did you decide to do that, to reimagine them that way?
Well, actually, when we were doing the production for Holding Her Hand, we had this really specific guitar part come into the play, and I really loved it, but it wasn't right for the full band production, and so I said, why not just put this as an acoustic song? And then we figured out, why not do this with the rest of the EP and see how that turns out? And it's very, kind of different. Very kind of different. That doesn't make sense. But it's different, and it just kind of interprets them in a different way, maybe a little bit more vulnerable and emotional with, the stripped-down versions.
I mean, going off of that, though, a lot of your other songs as well have been very vulnerable. You're really kind of put a lot of yourself into the songs, and you can really hear your personality come out within them. Yeah. Is that sometimes harder for you to tap into that more vulnerable side and really write about those real things?
I mean, it can be, but I feel like I'm not a very vulnerable person when I talk to other people that I'm close to, because I don't really like talking about difficult subjects. So I just write it all down and get my thoughts together so it sounds a little bit more eloquent than when I'm speaking to people. So that's kind of my idea on it.
Right, so you can kind of get it out in a more cathartic way.
Yeah, and it makes more sense to me if I'm able to write it all down and then say it instead of just feeling the feeling.
So I mean, you have some releases that you've done this year. You had
yes.
You released Shot Down Stand Up Acoustic. Mm-hmm. For those who haven't heard it, would you mind just kind of opening up a little bit about that and telling it kind of where that came from, what it means to you, just a little background?
Yeah, for sure. So I wrote Shot Down about a year ago at this point, because it's Wear Orange weekend. I think it might have happened either this weekend or last weekend for this year. And so in Parkland, there was the shooting that happened about a year and a few months ago, and I grew up there, so it really kind of hit home for me. And I was at USC at the time, and it was just a really weird experience knowing I was all the way across the country while these terrible things were happening. And so I wrote this song because the people of Parkland Amphitheater, which is, where I had my first band performance when I was 15 years old, it's really the first place where I started performing regularly. And so they asked me to perform at the Wear Orange event at the Parkland Amphitheater, and I was like, yeah, of course. And I knew I had to write something for it. So this is what came out, and I didn't want it to be too political or preachy, so I had to, wait until my mind was a little bit calmer and a little less emotional than how I was, in February of last year. So, and I that's all I really wanted, was just for people to understand, like, have the conversation. You don't have to, like, avoid politics when you're talking to other people. Just be respectful about it.
Definitely. And I think within the country music realm as well, that's something that's typically shied away from.
Like, when it did happen in February, and, you know, with the whole Las Vegas shooting that happened earlier that year, I feel like country music has opened up a little bit and is more willing to talk about it, because it has affected the community here greatly. And everyone's just becoming a little bit more open, you know, speaking about it, and having artists being able to express their political opinions when, you know, 10 years ago with the Dixie Chicks, it was not, you know, accepted, and they got, you know, they had their issues with that. And so I feel like it's just coming back around again, and people are being more willing to talk about it, which is, I think, is a great thing.
Definitely. I think, you know, starting that conversation with the song and putting that out under country music is something that was really important. Yeah. What's coming up next for you?
Oh my gosh. So we have the next single from the next EP is coming out June 28th, and I'm really excited about it.
So exciting.
Yes, I know. And there's going to be 5 songs on the next EP. We're going to release them one by one. And it's really cool because this EP kind of has a theme to it. And, like, ooh, I don't know.
What would that theme be?
It's a little bit darker and more vulnerable than the first EP, because the first EP was, you know, testing the waters. It was trying out a bunch of different types of songs and, like, feelings, and seeing what resonated with people and what people were drawn to. And so this EP kind of does revolve around the darker emotions and feeling lots of deep feelings. And so it kind of celebrates that in a way, and just, you know, being comfortable with feeling things that aren't necessarily happy and positive and, you know, all bubbly all the time. And
so do you feel like that sort of theme is the biggest difference from, you would say, your previous releases?
Yeah, definitely. I'm just really excited because I've always loved the idea of, like, a concept album, and so I feel like this is kind of a concept EP, and I just, I'm so excited about it.
How did you kind of come up with that concept? Where did the inspiration stem from with that?
So we actually, like, I've written a lot of songs in the past few years, and so when we were thinking about, like, which songs to group together for the next EP, I kind of noticed that all 5 of these songs kind of had that feeling and, like, that darkness to them. And I wanted to go with, you know, a concept EP, and I felt like they all fit together really well without getting too overwhelmingly dark. And just, it's really cool. I'm really excited.
So where can people find you on social and everything like that? Plug all your channels.
Okay, well, if you insist. My website is www.liddyclark.com, LIDDYCLARK. And all of my socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. Ooh. Yeah, all the big ones. We have just
literally every single social.
Literally, you will find me anywhere. It's at Liddy Clark. So just LIDDYCLARK.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us today. Good luck with everything you have going on this summer. Everyone be sure to check out her new EP, her new music coming out, and subscribe to Airwaves for more interviews. And we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.